Okay, welcome back to Wonders and Arts. Today we have another box opening. This is Paletteful Packs. And this came a few days ago, but I have been crazy busy at work, so I'm just now getting around to opening it. So let's see what we have. We have a sticker, which is very cute. And a palette. All Art Alternatives. I feel like I've seen that brand before. Let's see, Acrylic. Graphics Permanent Markers by Marabou. And this would be cherry red, dark ultramarine, dark green, and black. All right. And Liquitex acrylic ink, which is very cool. I have not tried the acrylic inks before, so this will be fun to test out. And we have Strathmore watercolor cards, which is 10 blank cards. Very cool, and they come with envelopes. A Legion Stonehenge Aqua Hot Press, little small size sample pack. That is slightly longer than Artist Trading Card size. A Strathmore Mixed Media Paper Pad, long and skinny, very cool. And a Princeton Select Round No. 6 brush. And that is it. There we go. All right, well, let's get this out of the way and test out the stuff. Okay, let's try these things out. I have gotten the Strathmore Mixed Media paper. I'm going to test it out on there. And what I've done for the Liquitex is I have put 1 drop of each in the well, and then did 1 drop of each, like 1 drop of blue, 1 drop of yellow, you know, 1 drop of blue, 1 drop of red, and 1 drop of red, 1 drop of yellow. So I might need to adjust those proportions, but just for testing out, we're good. But let's start with the markers. This is cherry red. Okay. And it has a very small point on one end and a thicker one on the other. This, of course, is black. Cool. This is dark ultramarine. Okay, and the final one is dark green. And these, I'm seeing a little bit of fuzzing around the edge of the thicker marker on this mixed media paper. Just the tiniest bit of ghosting though, no bleed through really. So that's pretty awesome. All right, let's try this ink. Okay, so I've just sped this part up because it's kind of long. So basically, to start with, I just swatched each of the colors and then blended it out with a little bit of water. And then I used the blended colors that I had tried. And the purple is a little bit dull. I would have liked to have seen a magenta instead of a red, because then you would have had a full CMY color palette, which I'm a graphic designer, so I kind of think in CMY anyway, so that's easier for me to color mix. But I also found that to get a good orange, I ended up using 3 parts yellow to 1 part of red. And then after I did the swatches, I just was playing with blending. I managed to get an interesting brown by mixing all the secondary colors. The purple was the darkest color I was able to make, though. So I sketched out my piece on on one of the Strathmore watercolor cards, and then I taped it down so that I could keep from mostly so I could keep it where you could see it. And I started out basically the way I would start out with watercolors. I did find that these inks dried much faster than watercolor did, and I had a little bit of a harder time getting a smooth result. They did also bloom very similar to the way watercolors bloom if you leave too much of a puddle, so that was something I had to watch. But I decided to do a face, and I think it turned out pretty decent in the end. I started with the skin tones that I used, mixing the browns and touches of orange and just darker colors. I did find that I wasn't getting as dark of a dark as I would like for the contrast on this piece. So I did end up going in later with some of the markers, which gave it a little bit more of a cartoony look, which I guess is fine. I might actually in the end go over this piece with colored pencils later if I decide to. But so I just kept on building up the shadows, trying to leave the highlights lighter, just getting the shapes in there for the face. And I spent obviously most of the time on the face, that's clear. So I used the red quite a bit for the lips. So I guess not really a ton to say about that. They did dry much faster than watercolors. So if you're used to laying down a watercolor and then blending it out with water, you've got to be pretty quick because it won't always blend out that fast. But I was mostly able to get a look that I was hoping for. And occasionally see me reaching across because I was watching YouTube videos, listening to podcasts while I was working on this piece. Trying to keep my head out of the way so you can still see. Yep, more shadows. Still going. This was a long piece. It took quite a while to do. And I still feel like it's not entirely finished. But I did do as much as I could with the face first before I started on any of the rest of the piece. So here I'm just adding some of the shadows to the hair. And then I decided I wanted to do the hair kind of a fantasy color. So I've got kind of reds and purples, which came out to sort of a pink color, which makes me miss my pink hair. I used to have some pink hair. So just getting the strands of hair in there. And I went a little bit more abstract with the hair. And I also have in this piece, there's a butterfly down in the bottom left corner and some cherries on a branch in the top right. And then sort of a Art Nouveau-esque kind of ish border that I ended up just coloring in mostly with the black marker. The markers I found, they were nice, and it was nice having the 2 different tips on them, but I mean, they could have been Sharpies. They really weren't much different than Sharpies in my opinion. So I'm glad I have them. I'm glad I use them, but you know, would I make a special effort to seek them out? Probably not. I did find that they tended to bleed a little bit and spread out and look a little fuzzy around the edges on this watercolor paper. So that wasn't a great thing. I really kind of wanted to reach for that micron off to my left there to use that. Microns are, my go-to for inking things generally. You can kind of see part of my reference photo up there in the top corner too, with the butterfly there. I didn't stick too strictly to the reference photo, but... And here I went in with the marker and outlined the leaves, and that made kind of a cartoony look, but it worked okay. And then I did the same with the butterfly and the veins and the wings of the butterflies. I think I did add a little bit of black striping for shadow in the hair as well. But mostly I'm been trying to practice my faces lately, so I wanted to do another face on this one. And I'm feeling pretty pleased with my progress. Everyone is a little bit better. So here I'm painting in the cherries with the bright red, and I used some of the purple to shadow them around the edges. And I believe at the end I did go in and add a little bit of black outlining to those too, since the leaves had green outlining. And doing a little more of the hair. That was a spot I had missed. I gave her a little red earring to kind of reflect the color of the cherries. Added some more red over there. Some more shading to the butterfly. And moving to another video probably. More work on the face. Yeah, this was a long one. It took a very long time. Even sped up, it seems like a long one. So here I went in with the black and added some outlining and darkened up some of the darkest parts around the eyes. Just a tiny bit on the lips. I didn't want to get too detailed there. I didn't want to really outline them. And then a little more shadows. More shadows. Even more. And now I'm doing the border that I had drawn on there. In my reference photo, the border actually was a little bit big, so some of it I freehanded and added to. But I just thought it was neat to put a little design element around it instead of painting a background. So drawing that out and then coloring it in with the thicker side. And like I said, I did find this bled a little bit, but it was an interesting look. It wasn't terrible. I can always go back and clean up the edges if I need to with a different pen. And I did find my washi tape was not sticking very well, so I ended up with some weird edges, not a nice sharp edge. But drew in some little curlicues. There we go. I believe we are done. Take off the tape. And after this point, I decided to grab a Uniball Signo white pen and add a few little details there. So you can see I added just tiny highlights to the eyes, and just a little bit of highlight to the lips, and the cherries and the earring, and just a tiny bit on the butterfly just to add a little accent. And that's just a Uniball Signo white pen. I've got several of those from other boxes. So there we go. There is our finished piece. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you soon.